Dividing each of our signing keys into a seed and a passphrase allows us to further engineer how we will distribute the signing keys and to prevent risks of collusion between the individuals who have custody of them. By separating the heirs from the guardians, we create an incentive structure where the heirs won't be able to collude between themselves to take the funds out of the vault before they are allowed to. Not only that, we also make sure the guardians won't be able to collude between themselves either. The guardians will be individuals with a passive, protective role, whose sole purpose is to protect and secure their recovery package until the owner decides to access the vault or until it's time for the heirs to access it themselves after the owner's death. The heirs will have an active role. They will be granted access to the guardian's recovery packages, but only when it's time for them to access the vault. The guardians will be instructed by the owner of this protective mission. They will be in charge of refusing access to the recovery packages to the heirs until the owner of the vault dies or gives them permission. As we've seen in the last lesson, each guardian will be in possession of one seed, whereas the heirs will have possession of the passphrase. Only by combining each seed with the passphrase can the heirs get access to the vault and spend from it. This is how we can engineer self-inheritance based solely on family members and relatives. But there's a caveat to this incentive structure. It is always based on trust, and there's always a risk, as no solution is perfect. There will still exist a risk of collusion between the guardians and the heirs. 3 of the guardians and 1 of the heirs could theoretically collaborate and steal from the vault. At this point, if you can't trust anyone in your family and relatives, and that the highest risk does not come from outside but inside your family, you can ask yourself, does it still make sense to implement a multi-generational vault? To mitigate this risk, we will create and distribute the recovery packages in such a way that no one, not the guardians nor the heirs, will know how the vault is set up before they open the recovery packages, which will be sealed. The guardians will be instructed to protect their package and refuse access to them before the owner's death. The heir will be instructed to protect their package and keep it closed before the owner's death. It will be the owner's responsibility to periodically check that recovery packages weren't opened. Let's illustrate the guardian's heirs incentive structure with a diagram. This is how we're going to set up our vault. We will separate each signing key into a seed and a passphrase. It will be the same passphrase for each of the seeds in our setup. First, let's understand why we want to do this. Let's imagine that we don't have a passphrase, that we only have 5 seeds and that the seeds constitute each signing key. Let's say that we will distribute the seeds to our heirs. In this case, they could technically collude, gather, and spend Bitcoin from the vault without the owner's permission. That would be far from ideal in the case that we want to build a multi-generational vault with the objective of doing self-inheritance. This is why we want to divide each signing key into 2 elements. One element will go to the guardians, including the owner, and the other element will go to the heirs and the owner as well. We do this because we want the owner, yourself, to be able to access the vault more easily than the heirs because you're still in charge of your own money. Now, what are the benefits and the trade-offs of this setup? Well, the first benefit is increased security because the heirs would not be able to collude between themselves to get access to the vault without the help of the guardians. At the same time, the guardians wouldn't be able to collude between themselves and take the money out of the vault without the help of the heirs. The incentive structure makes it so that you have trust in your guardians to do the right thing, which is to protect the packages and to refuse access to the packages before your death. This is why it is so important to choose the guardians very thoroughly. We want to make sure that the guardians are trusted relatives that will take care of the packages. Again, they won't know how the vault is set up. To them, it will be a package that they need to protect and secure for you. That's it. The trade-off is increased complexity and the need to back up a lot more information. But we will have all of this covered in the course. We will create recovery packages for the owner, the guardians, and the heirs in such a way that the owner will have seed 1 and the passphrase, guardian 2 will have seed 2, guardian 3 will have seed 3, guardian 4 will have seed 4, guardian 5 will have seed 5, and the heirs will each have a copy of the passphrase. There is still a risk of collusion. 3 of the guardians could technically collude with one of the heirs and take the money out of the vault. But again, they wouldn't know how the vault is set up. To them, it's just a recovery package that they're storing for you. This is how we mitigate this risk. Now, let's take a look at how the recovery packages will be distributed. That will help us understand better how the vault is set up. This is the recovery packages distribution diagram. This will help us understand how the signing keys are divided and distributed among the heirs and the guardians. Let's take a look at how it is made. Each square, colored square, is an envelope in the recovery package. Let's say that you're the owner, you will have a recovery package in which there will be an envelope for the seed 1, an envelope for the passphrase, and some more envelopes that we'll describe later in the course. If you're the owner, you will have seed 1 and the passphrase. If you're one of the heirs, you'll only have the passphrase. And if you're one of the guardians, you will only have one of the seeds. Again, if you're an heir and that it's time to access the vault, you will have to go and meet one of the 5 guardians, including the owner, to get access to the seeds in order to spend from the Bitcoin vault. With the passphrase alone, the heirs won't be able to do much. Same for the guardians. Without the passphrase, they won't be able to spend from the vault. Only if there would be a collusion between one of the heirs and 3 of the guardians would there be a risk of stealing the funds. But again, they wouldn't know anything about the vault. They would just have each one package, and they wouldn't really know how to use it unless they open it. And again, it would be the owner's responsibility to go and check that the recovery packages weren't opened. As you can see, we have more envelopes with more information that we'll see later in the video. But just to give you a quick overview of what it looks like, we will have the wallet descriptor, which is the sum of all the public keys and some more information. We'll have all the recovery instructions to be able to use the wallet, and we will have a signing device for the heirs and the owner. We now have a clear understanding of how the vault will be set up and how the recovery packages will be distributed among the heirs and the guardians. Let's recap. We will create a 3 of 5 multi-signature wallet, where each signing key will be the combination of a seed and the passphrase. The 5 seeds will be distributed to the guardians, who will be in charge of securing and protecting them for as long as the vault exists. Each of the heirs and the owner will have a copy of the passphrase, which along with the seeds will give them the ability to spend from the vault when time comes to have access to it. A note of caution on the distribution of the recovery packages. If you plan on distributing the packages across multiple countries, you'll run into an issue while traveling with them. There is a high chance that you'll raise suspicion at the airport security when traveling with metal backups. In the case that you want to distribute your recovery packages across different countries, I suggest you don't create the metal backups for the recovery packages you will travel with, and instead wait until you arrive at your destination to create them. Now that we've laid out the vault setup, you are probably wondering if and how you should adapt this setup to your own personal situation. This is what we're going to talk about in the next lesson. See you there.